Kenny raised his arms as Tariq and Khalil slid the breastplate bolts into the holes of the suit. The exoskeleton came together with a sharp hiss. Khalil checked the seal, then stepped around Kenny to mount a missile launcher on one shoulder and a machine gun on the other. Opponents were never announced in advance. Overkill was better than the alternative, and Kenny was on a winning streak. Tariq initialized the weapons, and a star-spangled X came to life on Kenny's chest. Bathing his locker in a sepia tone of sapphire blue, the light drew Kenny's eyes to the one personal item he always brought to work. Dylan was 5 in that photo, and there was no telling whether his 14-year-old son was ever going to smile like that again. Kenny pushed away the thought, just as Tariq leaned toward the neck plate to check the armor's readouts. Normally, he liked it when they were silent, but feeling the heat of the man's breath, Kenny was relieved when Tariq said,
"Your boy has a game this weekend?"
Yup.
Military training and tours all over the world gave Kenny an ease with committing foreign names to memory, but he knew little else about the team's immigrant staff.
Any sons back home?
3.
Tariq glanced at Kenny's face, then looked away. A cloud of frustration darkened his eyes. Fiddling with the controls, Tariq attempted to refocus, but within seconds lost his composure.
"I submit the application."
He hissed.
12 times they send the paperwork back. Each time they say something is missing.
There was the flicker of a grimace.
I find whatever they say, then resubmit.
A wave of angry memories flowed to Kenny in a rush. Custody had been the sticking point during the divorce. Dylan's grandparents told the judge that both he and his ex were unfit. After fighting like hell for 3 months, Kenny finally won the ability to spend time with his own son.
Don't give up,
He said, as if in solidarity. But if the arena were raided, all the Bengali technicians, Vietnamese doctors, and Filipino nurses were at risk of being deported. Tariq nodded in response, then stepped around Kenny to help Khalil mount the 200-pound helmet onto the rest of the suit. Kenny would have the ability to lift 1,000 once the exoskeleton was complete, but until then, he needed help getting in and out of the armor. Tariq and Khalil were the only 2 people on the team that Kenny could stand having in the room before a fight. They never gossiped, never asked for favors, never bragged about who they knew. Smiling Jack hired foreigners because they worked long hours for very little money. But Kenny liked the fact that, unlike the paper pushes in marketing, legal, and accounting, the immigrants did their jobs without acting as if they were entitled to any more. When the helmet was secure and the suit was activated, the room's physical details flooded Kenny's awareness. Temperature, 72.9 degrees. Square footage, 325 feet. The room contained 7 additional life forms. 2 human beings, a lizard, 3 spiders, and a fly resting on the wall. As Tariq crossed the floor to open the door, Kenny froze a sneer onto his face. Looking annoyed was easy, considering the unfortunate fact that the helmet's design left his eyes, nose, and mouth exposed.
"They've got to see your skin,"
Smiling Jack had said, in an attempt to explain away the monumentally stupid flaw.
"They need to see that you're one of them.
Jack shrugged.
Or at least believe you are."
Tariq opened the door, and Kenny steeled himself for the chaos outside. Striding over the threshold, he ignored the staff and the fans that had gathered around his dressing room. As Kenny lumbered through the curved concrete corridor, they gawked like a flock of stunned birds in his wake. 1 camera drone hovered overhead, 1 directly in front, and a 3rd took up the rear. For the first couple of fights, Kenny had been so eager to see himself on TV that he used the suit to watch the broadcast in real time. He no longer needed that affirmation. The show's audience had ballooned to 60 million, and Kenny knew they were riveted by the sight of the arena, by the pair of bloodthirsty crowds, by the boom of the drums and the bois of the war horns. The dirge had already started. Earthquake-like vibrations flowed in waves across the floor. Standing just on the inside of the archway, Kenny waited to be announced, hardly able to believe it was possible. He was certain the crowd was crazier than usual. They pounded the transparent wall in time with the dirge. According to Smilin' Jack, at the end of every night, a crew of 24 workers spent hours washing blood from the bulletproof glass surface.
Welcome,
The announcer yelled, and the already boisterous crowd erupted into a massive roar. With the pride of a god announcing a battle on Mount Olympus, the voice bellowed,
this is Coliseum.
The camera drones zoomed out into the arena to assume positions for their best shots.
Tonight, I present, hailing from the east, Confederate gladiator, Kenneth Hammer.
When Kenny stepped onto the floor, a giant Confederate flag appeared over the arched entrance of the corridor. He no longer wasted time waving to the crowd. Mean and selfish became part of his brand, even before he'd considered whether to do interviews. When the team realized what had happened, Smilin' Jack said,
Don't bother revealing anything about your personal life. These people want to believe you're full of hate, just like them. Hide every private detail and put work out of your mind when you're not in this place.
Each night, that's exactly what Kenny did. By the time he'd driven all the way to the other side of Las Vegas, to his home in the sleepy suburb of Summerlin, he was just another dad driving through quiet streets lined with tennis nets, golf courses, and kids' playgrounds. Staring with anticipation at the other end of the arena, he thought about Dylan, about the game he was coaching tomorrow, and waited for his opponent to be announced.
And hailing from the west, I present American gladiator, Rachel Kashkarian.
When the figure emerged from the shadows, the archway over her head became a huge American flag. On Kenny's side of the arena, fans of the Confederacy pounded the glass even harder as they shouted,
Kill the bitch! Kill the bitch!
In that moment, Kenny was so glad he'd taken Smilin' Jack's advice. He watched Rachel's approach, as on her side of the arena, fans of America shouted,
Resist! Resist! Resist!
Kenny thought about the chants, thought about the criticism the show had been getting since it first aired 2 years ago. Some said it was an accurate reflection of the country's culture. Others said it only made things worse. Either way, today's fight had gone beyond controversial and had truly ventured into the absurd. Kenny raised his head and surveyed both crowds. The chants merged together into an ironic combination of resist, kill, bitch, resist, kill, bitch. A molten mass of disgust rose in Kenny's chest, but this was more money than he'd ever made in his life. As hatred filled the arena like a raging fire, Kenny desperately wanted to yell,
You fucking idiots. You're chanting death to my son's mother.